AskReddit by Planet Reddit. What is the best thing to say to someone to subtly duck with their head? I think my favorite is giving passwords over the phone. I use the proper NATO phonetic alphabet. Except for Q. It's Q as in cucumber. Wait, what? Cucumber starts with a C. Oh. No, I meant a regular cucumber. Not a sea cucumber. Hello, father. When at a dinner party, ask someone a question just after they have put food in their mouth. They do the obligatory fast chew and point at mouth laugh nervously while finishing chewing before answering the question. Then, ask them another question as they put the next mouthful in their mouth. And again. Username checks out. Just say remember me from a long time ago? If they say no, just smile and say think about it, smile and walk away. This happened to me once a few years ago and I am still confused. I like to use figurative speech that don't exist. Followed by you know what I'm saying? You can't make a fruit salad if you don't have any peaches. You know what I'm saying? More often than not, people get really confused and just agree. My go-to is same horse different saddle. Am I right, guys? Completely unrelated to whatever is going on, but never fails to get to totally. Dude. Well, can't catch the termites without the hose. Yeah, I know what I'm saying. Whenever my boss Dave walks by I always slide yeah but don't let Dave catch you doing that into the conversation. Hahaha, hilarious. It ducks with Dave and your coworker. I'm a stockbroker and work in a fairly open floor. Next to me and company worker there is this giant whiteboard. We decided it would be fun if we just started writing names on the board. Then we started putting lines through the names. Then we started erasing names and writing new ones. People would come up and ask confused, scared, curious, why is my name up there? Or what's that list for? To which one of us always replied, oh. You'll find out when it's time. What would you change about yourself? Apart from the obvious? That's absolutely savage. I had a friend who would always say wake up in a very urgent voice randomly throughout the day. Then when questioned would look at you like you're crazy for hearing things. It got to a ducked up point where he would write it in the steam on mirrors. So that the next time I had a shower and steamed up the mirror again it would tell me to wake up without him even being there. He'd steal my school books and write it on the back page so when I finally reached the back page weeks later it would tell me to wake up. RLY ducked with my head for a bit until he recruited other people to do it who weren't so good at keeping a straight face. It has been reported that some victims of extreme trauma such as torture, kidnapping, or rape during the act would retreat into a fantasy world from which they could not wake up. In this catatonic state, the victim lived in a world just like their normal one. Except they weren't undergoing the trauma. The only way that they realized they needed to wake up was a note they found in their fantasy world. It would tell them about their condition and tell them to wake up. Even then, it would often take months until they were ready to discard their fantasy world and please wake up. What a great friend. Relentlessly trying to pull you from your depression like that. Every now and then when I go to the store from work I'll say I'm going to Wawa. Do you want anything? Once in a blue moon I'll say I'm going to the bathroom. Do you want anything? Every time they don't expect it. No matter what they say. After they tell you a story anecdote especially involving somebody else, always just say that's not the way I heard it. Every single time the story will then change. Sometimes minor but sometimes completely haha. Cop here. I'm going to start doing this to other officers telling war stories about how big a guy was or how many there were. Also remember this so you realize how unreliable witnesses truly are. When my dad played tennis in high school, he would ask his competitors right before a match, do you breathe in or out when you serve? As a tennis player that's funny as duck. Right? I'm stealing this. I just wanted to let you know that everyone likes you. Don't worry. An old co-worker of mine used to end most conversations with you know I don't care what anybody else says about you. Not spoken but written. When someone parks and take up 2 or 4 parking spots, I always leave them a little note that says something along the lines of, hey, sorry about your truck. I drive a smaller car and thought I could park in beside you but didn't quite make it. My buddy says you should be able to buff the scratches out with wax from AutoZone and that the damage is less than $100, so there is no reason for me to leave my information. Good luck. I have done this a few times and sit back to watch as some guy comes out, reads the note on his windshield, and spends 20 minutes walking around his truck or car trying to figure out where the scratch is. I keep a few of these in my purse for that situation. But I like yours better, XD. I ended getting the cops called on me after I drew a dong the size of the hood in the dirt on a car. This ass had taken both spots in front of my house for weeks. And nice notes weren't working. It worked out though, cause my roommate dealt with the cops. And they never parked there again. But I like your style, low key and sweet. Like smiling and waving at someone when they road rage on you. Start off any conversation with another late night. Huh. Makes any person think they look haggard. That's my secret. I'm always haggard. I dare you when there is no preconceived notion of any peril. Hey man. Can I get a beer? Sure. They are in the fridge. Go grab one. I dare you. Go to sleep. I dare you. Eat your lunch. I dare you. Blink your eyes. I dare you. Go on Reddit. I dare you. Ducking creepy. Thanks. Go to sleep. I dare you. I say this on the train. It has worked well. Mostly. Air quotes. Just randomly throw air quotes into any conversation. It really makes people uncomfortable. When you're talking to someone, you just look at their ear or slightly just past their head whilst you make conversation. I know it's not something you say, but it consistently works in making them wonder WTF you're looking at. Meet my eyeline. Jim. I actually have hearing problems, so to focus my attention I stare past people. Not having to overanalyze facial expressions and body language makes it easier to retain the auditory info. But yeah, no, they still get super confused when I'm seeming to win a staring contest with the wall and holding and conversation. Pretty fun because they never get used to it. Nice to see you again to someone you just met for the first time. I once met a guy 6 times before remembering him. So every time I said nice to meet you, he would just laugh. I didn't get the joke, but I awkwardly laughed too. Then, the 6th time, I went, oh shit, we've done this before. He just looked at me blankly for like 15 seconds and then went, oh my god, all this time you weren't joking. That happened to me with some guy from high school. We were in the same after school activity, but every time we actually talked to each other, he would say it was nice to meet you and walk away before I could say anything. So awkward. But at least he wasn't aware of how awkward it was. When I was about 9, my family would go to Bob's Big Boy after church. I was in there washing my hands before we ate, as my parents always made me wash my hands before any meal. I am in the bathroom and I was getting some hand soap, and then a toilet flushes and someone says, I think you should remember this. And so I have. All these years. I am hoping it becomes useful later on. Mysterious toilet flusher. Otherwise I would have remembered it for nothing. You still have my trust. I will carry this a little longer. You don't understand. This was the reason you remembered it. For that sweet karma. Every now and then I would recall this memory. Late at night while I am driving seems to be the most common. It has dawned on me that this person may not have been talking to me, but that I overheard a conversation I was not meant to. This was well before cell phones. So there must have been someone else in that restroom. But my memory does not place anyone there. And it was not a command. Such as you will remember this. That would have been too direct and I likely would have forgotten. No. It was the soft words of a wise man. The kind of advice you learn to recognize as you get older. A man who has long since passed. But whose words will live on. I was substitute teaching at an elementary school. Some random 3rd grade girl walked up to me and whispered, "Wake up daddy," and then went back to her class. My jimmies were sufficiently rustled. When someone calls you by the phone, answer the phone by saying hello. I would like to speak with Alex. They will think you were the one who called them and they will tell you you called the wrong number and then they hung up on you. A few seconds later, they will start going nuts. I wonder if that would work on telemarketers. I took a telemarketer call at my parents' house once. I had a 5-minute argument, in English, about the fact that I couldn't understand what they were trying to sell me because they were speaking English and I didn't speak English. My stepdad almost pissed himself laughing. We played a game at college. We would walk by groups of people and say the second half of a weird sentence in passing. Winner was the person who most likely ruined someone's day with unanswered questions. Comma and yeah. That was the last time I showered with my dad. Comma, so there I am. Face down. Butt naked in the woods. My friend and I were thinking, what is the weirdest thing you could overhear like this, and we landed on, but is it really necrophilia if they are alive when you start? That's certainly an interesting way to do it. So that's why it turns out that way when you do it. No. Go ahead. I want to see this. That's a brave look. A white guy in a bar in Shanghai 2 years ago randomly told me that this year would be the worst year of my life. I don't believe in that shit, but duck that guy cause it definitely got in my head. You should do this by putting on a suit, carrying a small briefcase and acting as serious and professional as possible. Then leave the bar once you spoke to that one guy. But who would put so much effort into trolling a stranger? Keep telling them their secret is safe with you. If you see them from across the room, just smile, wink and tap the side of your nose. Is the secret cocaine? Shut up, Evan, it's a secret. Sorry about yesterday. Give no context. None at all. Tried this with my wife. She said it's okay. WTF did I do yesterday? Your wife is much better than you at this game. I used to teach high school choir, and one day a classroom messenger came into my women's choir class to deliver a message. Stopped, sniffed, and said who's on their period? Before walking out. It was pandemonium. Girls were crying. It was awful and hilarious. I feel really bad for laughing so hard at this, but I'm almost crying and I'm trying not to make any noise because I'm at work. Anytime they need to write down a number. Oh sorry. That's supposed to be an uppercase 7. My number is 5, 5, 3, 8, 16. Of all the things in this thread, this is my fav. When my wife says don't worry about it. Are you sure? Hate it when people do that to me. A guy I knew in college would ask me this after almost any statement I made and then proceed to Google fact check me in front of me. I was always right and it drove me up a ducking wall. Several years ago I was interviewing for a tech support job, so they were asking me basic computer knowledge questions. One question was, what does RAM stand for? So I confidently answered random access memory, to which the interviewer asked, are you sure? I hesitated for a moment. I was very sure up until they asked me that. Now I'm sitting here questioning what I know to be true. I stuck to my guns and we moved on with the interview. But the rest of the interview I was just thinking to myself, what the hell was that about? You look better than usual. I got this during my prom. Bro. You actually look pretty today. Duck you too. That's not subtle anymore. That's straight insult. 17 years old. New guy at my job that I would have for 8 years. One co-worker told me, don't take anything anyone says around here seriously. Including that last sentence. Sent me into an existential crisis. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for 3 videos a day.